Hello and welcome to the GameTyrant Winter Series here. My name is Bo Coda Draco Denhalter and I'm here with Brandon Grizz Martin.
That's me.
And we're here in the first semifinals game of the playoffs. Today we got Keeper Summoners playing against Cloud9, so our first and fourth seed playing against each other. And Grizz, what are you thinking about this game?
Well, I'm really excited to finally be in the playoffs and see these teams with nothing left to lose.
Right.
This is the final trek of the journey, and so I'm hoping to see some teams bust out maybe things that they were afraid to do in the regular season, and with all the stakes on the line.
Absolutely. Like this is your last chance to get to finals. Like you either make it to finals or you're playing for third place here. So it is a best of three series. So we're gonna see at least two games, hopefully three, depending on how it goes. But we're already into draft with Keeper Summoners Cloud9. Fiora ban going straight on to Cloud9, totally expected. Cloud9's top laners Fiora one trick for a long time. Olaf ban coming through the jungle, but on side of Cloud9 they banned Malphite, and we're looking at another ban. So all these things are bans we've seen before. Nothing too crazy here, but I do like what you said about trying something new. The mismatch here, it's Keeper Summoners coming in first seed. They've only dropped one game this regular season. They're looking really good. If Cloud9 try to play the exact same they've played before, I think it's Keeper Summoners' game. I think Cloud9 has to do something special here. Bring out something new that throws Keeper Summoners off their feet.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like you've played through the season, you played the safe meta picks, and you should have learned what you're good at and what you're not. And perhaps you have a pocket pick that's not necessarily what we'd consider meta, but maybe it's a good counter pick. Maybe it's something that you're super comfortable on. You understand the matchup better than perhaps your opponent who's playing the meta, who understands the meta matchups. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you're talking about things like it's banned, but you talk about like Naren to Camille. We've seen that matchup. You know what I mean?
Right.
But we see the Nautilus, and what do you think about that?
I think Nautilus is a staple pick. I'm not sure how I feel about it first pick. I feel like with the Rel up, the Thresh, like there's so many champions that can do the same thing. I don't know like why you'd prioritize it over something like the Volley Bear. I was going to bring that up. Huge buffs coming in to 11.7, which is the patch we're playing on right now. His E, the max damage cap is just got like quadrupled. I think it's 5 times higher now from like 150 to 850, 750, something like that. So he can melt dragons. If he's playing jungle, you can also put him top lane if you want, and he can clear waves better with it. So I think Volibear is honestly third tier jungler here after Hecarim and Udyr, which Cloud9 was able to both ban away. So I actually really like the Seraphine Volibear pickup from Cloud9 here.
Absolutely. And Volibear actually a staple over in the LEC as they're playing on a different patch and a little bit of a Bwipo special. And I'm glad to see people picking it up here because even post the nerfs that had happened a little while ago, I still thought that Volibear's team fighting capability was excellent. But
I agree. Now, interesting picks here. So the Yone really says if you play the Seraphine mid, you're gonna lose lane. Like I'm gonna kill you over and over and over. Seraphine is not strong enough and safe enough unless you play her flawlessly to lane against this Yone. So it pretty much forces the Seraphine to go bot. But then we see a Karthus pick here, which I'm assuming is a Karthus jungle. Could go somewhere else. But that is something we have not seen a lot. The reason we don't really see it is because it's a weak early jungle. He's not strong until he hit 6 and just wants to push R and help you get kills in lane. But that's kind of keep your summoners just saying, even though you're playing one of the strongest dueling junglers in the game, we don't think you can out macro us. I'm just going to power farm. I'm going to power farm your jungle while you're trying to invade us. Something's going on here that they're just, maybe it's just a flex. I'm not sure. But definitely abnormal pick.
right, well, what we've seen is that the three, I guess, most hotly contested junglers were all taken off of the board on the
Right.
first round of bans, right? So I personally, as a jungler, do not like to play against or don't like to play Karthus, but I also don't like to play against Karthus.
Right.
Excuse me. The reason I don't like to play against Karthus is because if you have strong lanes and that Karthus is able to stay safe and is able to farm up, you have the the dread of getting hit by that ulti from jungle whenever you get low in lane. And so I feel like maybe Keep Your Summoners is saying we're going to draft really, really strong lanes and give Karth this time to build himself up.
I agree. And then the other pick that we didn't mention was this Misfortune, which actually combos very well with the Seraphine. Um, they both can just push R and kill whoever's playing ADC. So the Nautilus will actually be pretty big into that because if Misfortune starts channeling her ult, Nautilus can guarantee interrupt that. But we're seeing the two top lane picks against Keep Your Summoners top lane getting banned out. Really known for the Malphite and Cho'Gath. The other pick that he really likes to play is the Sylas. So I wouldn't be surprised if he blinds Sylas here, but could be anything. Could just be something safe like a Scion. Um, but Caitlyn banned coming out for Cloud9. They have played the Caitlyn a lot, but obviously they have the Misfortune. I think the Sivir was intended to be something else. I don't see a game away where you play Misfortune and Sivir together. I don't see either of those being viable in the mid lane, but we do see the Draven, and I'm pretty sure that Draven is an actual Draven for Keep Your Summoners here, unless they picked it in place of the Sivir, just because the pro draft wouldn't let them. But we'll figure that all out in a second here. But kind of getting a little bot lanes locked in, and we'll see what the top lane is here. The Renekton. Okay, kind of a safe blind pick for Keep Your Summoners.
So I wanted to touch on. So Pro Draft is known to be kind of wonky.
Right.
You yourself have actually used Pro Draft before,
Absolutely.
so you would know better than than most. However, is there a chance? And I throw this question out to the ether. Could that be a Misfortune support?
Misfortune support. I was just thinking that it could be, and if she's maxing E, which a Misfortune support would do, it'd give you enough slow for the Sivir to like land the Q every time. So if she builds lethality, I think it'd be okay. I'm just worried with a Draven Nautilus, they're just gonna go in, and why do you have to stop that? But it's in the realm of possibility, but I'd be more inclined to think that the pro draft just picked the wrong thing for him. But it could be, and if it is, I'm excited to see how they make it work.
Well, we were talking about non-standard picks. I feel
Right.
like
That meets that definition for sure.
that would definitely be a non-standard. I feel like maybe you could make that lane work, having a lot more harass. But you would definitely need to play very safely around your lane state, I would think, making sure that you're inside the creeps. But if you play inside the creeps, does Keep Your Summoner's bot lane actually have a way to play around that, aside from just, I suppose, Nautilus trying to walk up to you?
I don't really think so, because it's two ranged versus a melee and a ranged. So if Nautilus isn't able to go in, Cloud9 should just be able to outtrade this Draven, especially in quick trades where it's a Sivir Q auto, Misfortune E auto Q versus Draven throwing 2 or 3 axes. So I think they should be able to poke it out. But if it is this bot lane, it's going to be very different playstyle for Candy Bar on the Sivir, because he's going to have to stand between his support and the Nautilus and try to tank the hook, but then just use his spell shield on it. Because then it'll only Nautilus hook works two ways. It meets you halfway in, so it'll pull the enemy halfway towards you and pull you halfway towards them. And so if you spell shield it, it stops you from getting pulled in, but it'll still pull him halfway. So you'll still have enough range to kind of kite him out. So pre-level 6, unless Nautilus is willing to flash in, then we will they should be able to kite it out, especially if Misfortune has her E up after the hook. She can just slow that Nautilus and stop him from chasing. But something else to bring up is Keep Your Summoners is having to play with an emergency sub this game. I can't remember who their support normally is, but it didn't work for this week. So we have Grant, I think is how you'd pronounce that name. Grant F, either way. But he hasn't played with this team before. I don't know if he's just a friend. He uses like duoed with some people, or if he is an actual substitute for this team. But definitely a potential for a lack of bot lane synergy here.
And so then moving on with that lack of bot lane synergy, even though you are playing a meta pick, would that not even make the bot lane more? Now we are talking about a lot about this bot lane, which could not even exist,
Right.
right? So, but I feel like it is probably okay. So,
Okay, so Syndra instead of Sivir would be my guess, which makes sense. Probably typed S and then like
right.
click the wrong thing or something.
Well, that's unfortunate. We just spent a couple minutes
Right.
talking about fantasy land that does not exist. But so going into, we now see that the Poppy is top lane with the Volibear jungle.
Right.
Poppy into Renekton. Now, I'm not very familiar with that matchup.
Poppy can play it to never die, but I don't think Renekton should ever be afraid of getting killed unless Volibear's up there. So Poppy should be able to put up her barrier every time Renekton dashes. But if Poppy ever is going up for a CS and just is a little too late, Renekton gets the first E off, he should be able to get the stun Q and then dash out just in time. So we might see some quick trades that chip away at this Poppy and stop, and then we can see an all-in later with a flash stun maybe. But I don't really see any way BMAD dies except for if he goes in without his W up.
Absolutely. Okay, and so we're seeing now that the bot lane is Candy Bar on Sivir with Illusory Gaming on the Seraphine. So that means that the MF was the accident?
Oh, yeah, you'd be right. So it was an MF, which they picked first, which they picked together with the Seraphine. So I hope that that got addressed and everything was okay there. But either way, this is a very poke-heavy bot lane. Same thing with MF. The idea is just spam your spells on him from a distance and then don't let him go in. But if this Nautilus gets a hook on Seraphine, there's no way she's getting out. Because even if she lands her E, even a double E, after the Nautilus hook, she's going to be rooted, and then Draven's going to do the knockback to launch her into the Draven even more. So it's going to be very hard. They're going to have to play with really good positioning behind their wave, but I think they should be able to poke him down, especially before Draven starts stacking lifesteal. They should be able just to whittle him down in lane and hopefully get an advantage there.
Absolutely. And so taking a step back to the Karthus we had previously talked about,
Right.
we see that they went the Renekton top, the Yone mid, and the Draven Nautilus. Now, in my understanding, all three of these are very aggressive, very strong lanes. Generally speaking, most ADCs do not outtrade Draven when it's just you, me standing against each other, throwing autos at each other. Nautilus has the engage. Renekton is it's Renekton, right? His early game is unmatched by most of the champion roster, and Yone, like you said, is no slouch in the mid lane either. So, do you think this Karthus will have the potential to sit in his jungle like he wants to and farm until he's able to press his ultimate and you suddenly lose half of your life for no reason?
Well, I think that's exactly what this comp is intended to do. You have on paper 3 winning lanes, and so he should not have to worry about having to save a losing lane here. And if he gets invaded, his lane should have prio, so they should be able to rotate down and help him out and kill the Volibear if there's an invade. So it's really up to Nethermorn to kind of see when his lanes are going to have waves pushed, because it's not going to be always. But Syndra should have early push against Yone, and like 1 or 2 things, just very looking at waves, and then like trying to get plays off of that where they can fight for a scuttle because Syndra's able to rotate first, or they can get a dragon because Sivir and Seraphine both pushed Q on the wave. So I think it's going to be a lot more technical and have to be planned from Volibear, but I think Crunky here should be free to scale up as much as he needs to.
All right. Well, I'm hoping for his sake that he is able to, because I know that when you do not have winning lanes as a Karthus jungle, you are not having a good time.
Absolutely.
There is no way early Karthus is going to be able to defend himself from the Rune Bear roaming through his jungle.
Right. And on the flip side, if somehow Cloud9 gets ahead or even goes even, the team of Keep Your Summoners, they have a much harder time running away. Renekton only gets 1 dash unless he dashes through an enemy. No dashes on Karthus. Yone, if he uses his E backwards, it's just going to pull him back. So his only real escape is either a third Q or an ult. Draven has like one knockback, and he gets movement speed for catching axes, which he's not doing if he's running away. And then Nautilus can hook a wall, I guess. But if Cloud9 is able to get on the offensive and pop a Sivir ult, Volibear ults a tower, so the tower's just stopped an Ohm record, if you will,
Yes.
then I think they have a chance to just like steamroll this game. If they get ahead, I think that if they play it right, they can keep the tempo, and there's not much Keep Your Summoners comp can do against it.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, you have Sivir can speed everybody up to get your team into there. Syndra. What I'm seeing from Cloud9 is a lot of champions that press R and give a lot of utility, or in the case of Syndra, I press R and someone just died.
Right.
And so when I look at Keep Your Summoners, I see a lot of different synergies with, you have Yone who can knock everybody up. That allows the Renekton to get in to allow him to start wreaking havoc. They draw attention away from the Karthus. He presses his ult and stuff like that. But what I'm seeing from them is that they need a lot of coordination to pull that off,
Right.
where it does not seem like Cloud9 need to time everything perfectly in order to perhaps get the same results.
Yeah, I think so too, because especially just if you look at the CC on the teams, there's just more CC on the side of Cloud9. And so even if you mistime some things, you should be able to have enough to lock somebody down. If somebody whiffs something, there should be a second one ready to follow up. And especially with the Seraphine ult, that is an entire game changer late game. If you get a 3 or 4 man Seraphine ult in a team fight with a Poppy W on top of them, Syndra's stun, it should just be an entire combo and like they die. So depending on how it goes, I think if Cloud9 is able to get out of lane state even with 1 or 2 drags at 20 minutes, I think they're completely fine and they just go for team fights and look to win.
Absolutely. And so now my next question is, we had talked a little bit before the broadcast about Rel.
Right.
And I almost was wondering during this draft if perhaps Rel would have been a better choice than the Nautilus. Kind of gives you the same engage, but offers more in team fights. I mean, for me, Nautilus always seems as kind of like a standard, but if not a little lackluster, in the sense that when you get to the inevitable team fighting portion of the game, where you're fighting for Barons, you're fighting for Dragons. Yeah, you can get a good ulti that'll knock up the whole team, but that's not necessarily something that you can consistently pull off, right?
Right.
And so, well, we'll have to hold off to that because we are now.
Oh, we're about to get a 5v5. Oh boy, here we go. Now, just real quick on your point, the only reason I could see it is they are using that emergency sub, so maybe he's just not too brushed up on the Rel, and so he just says, okay, I want to play the Nautilus. Oh boy, here we go. Let's see if Cloud9 can do this. They should win this level 1. Oh, they get the 5-man route into the knockup. The Volibear E hits them all. That's 2 kills going straight away. 1 on the Sivir, 1 on the Poppy. Nethermore is chasing. Flash Q from the Sivir. Gets another one. Double kill coming out for Candy Bar. Straight up 2-0-1 for this Sivir. Burns the flash for it, but 3 flashes gone on the side of Keep Your Summoners. And that's 3 straight kills. That is a 1.4 thousand gold lead for Cloud9 at 1 minute in the game.
So what do you think possessed Cloud9 to sit in that bush? Do you think that they have been watching vids and know that Keep Your Summoners likes to 5-man invade from that side, or do you think it was a little bit of blind luck?
I think it's a little bit of both. Normally, if you're stacking for invades, you go on the bush above it, like next to the pixel bush. So it may have just been blind luck. Maybe there's something in the bots. They just watched like replays and saw every single game. These guys are going in. And so they just planned for it. Either way, you could not ask for a better start for Cloud9 here.
Absolutely. And I feel like Sivir burning her flash when the enemy jungler is a Karthus might not mean as much.
I agree. Especially in exchange, Draven burning his flash I think is a bigger deal than Sivir burning her flash, because Sivir has a spell shield to block that bot lane's engage. What is Draven going to do if he sees a Seraphine double E coming at him? He can't dodge that. He has to dodge it. He can't flash it anymore. It doesn't even have heal for the move speed. So if they poke him down, And then Seraphine's able to land a double stun. Oh, we can see some trades coming in the top lane. Huge trades for Be Mad. We want to see him back up a little bit. Salmon Poppy recovers it by getting that empowered Q, but definitely winning here for Be Mad. Both pops used. Now, the one thing I did want to touch on, though, even though she started 2-0, Sivir did not get any more damage. She bought a tier and boots. So I understand the tier start because you want to build mirror mana and you want to get ahead there. But honestly, if you had enough for a longsword, go longsword. If not, I think a dagger would have been better here just to get your DPS higher. And you can match that early game Draven damage.
Right. Well, if I'm not mistaken, with 2 early kills, you should have had enough gold for at least a long sword, maybe not, or maybe even a long sword. We saw that she bought the boots as well. So
Right.
I definitely agree with you. I feel like the early attack damage would have been a lot, maybe not better, but a lot better to see. Because that being the case, do you think maybe she just wants to match the push from Draven? Because Draven wants to throw
Oh, we're seeing a good dive here. He doesn't have flash from the level 1. Oh, does Be Mad get away? Oh, he got executed though. He got executed, and that's okay. Salmon Poppy, even though he has TP, he's going to lose a wave or two here. But we see the gank coming in from Crunky bot lane, using that wall of pain to slow him down. I don't know if Sivir's still level 2, if that's what happened. No spell shield or... Okay, so there's a level 3. Maybe the spell shield was a little late. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But that's exactly what we see. No damage coming out from Sivir. She finally got a longsword down. But it's a kill back onto the Draven. Thankfully, he didn't have a whole lot of axes stacked, so he didn't cash in a bunch. But going from a 1.4 gold lead, it's already down to 700 gold in favor of Cloud9 right now.
Right, absolutely. And that also comes with the, I believe 2 kills should give you a shutdown as well. If I'm not
Yes,
mistaken.
yeah, that's what it would be. It's 150 gold shutdown, so an extra 150 plus, let's say, roughly 50 gold from axes, 200 gold into Draven's pockets from that kill, on top of the 300 for the regular kill. Another game coming through. No extra dash, I think. They should run this through, but they don't. But he already used the TP, so no TP. They could crash this wave. Deny. Oh, Syndra coming up, though. Calavir looking for the kill. Gets the stun. Okay, stopped at the back, 1 HP. Karthus is coming up, but Calavir either needs to commit or get out. And recall coming through. So it stops recall. I don't think that's worth for Cloud9 though, because especially now. Syndra had to walk all the way up and recall, and all this time Aterius is able to shove this mid wave and crash it. So whatever advantage they got crashing the top wave, it's just matched by this Yone mid here.
Right, and so do you think that was a bit of a miscommunication where they thought that, because if Syndra had done what she done with Nethermorn and BMAD ready to then follow up on the tower dive, I mean, that's pretty much a guaranteed kill, right? So do you think there was a little bit of a miscommunication there? Sorry, words.
I think so. I think the comms, if I could just guess what they were like, they said, hey, he's diveable top. Let's dive him top. Volibear came top when the wave was pushed. They got a great gank off, shoved this Renekton all the way under tower, got him super low. We're going to force him to back. But all that time when they were talking about that, Calavir said, okay, we're diving top. I'm coming. But he's got to come all the way from the mid lane. And so it took him an extra minute to get there. And he was able to stop the back, but he traded a lot of tempo mid for it as well. I think it's good formation of a play, though. And I'm liking what I'm seeing from Cloud9 here. Just a little bit crisper, and they'd have another kill.
Right, absolutely. We do see Nethermorn going to the dragon pit, but it doesn't seem like he's committing to anything, or maybe he is.
Might be. It looks like he's coming. Oh, if he gets behind this Yone, oh, this is huge. Because he has to stack the Q all the way to get the dash through. Stun coming through. If he's able to take that Blast Cone, the Syndra stun coming through. Blast Cone denied by Nethermorn, but the flash coming in from Aterius. But Volibear is already here at this bot lane. We got a huge fight coming in. No ults from any of the bot laners. Poppy ult misses. So huge trades coming in favor of Cloud9, but no kills. But this should be enough to secure first drag, which they are on. Now, we were saying 3 winning lanes for Keep Your Summoners here, but all 3 lanes, the only lane that's like doing okay is his mid lane just because there's a little bit more CS. But he's 0-1 from that invade as well, and Syndra has 3 assists. So even then, gold, I would say in favor of the Syndra. I don't see really, if Cloud9 is able to keep this pressure going, I don't see a point where Keep Your Summoners starts winning this game.
Right, and even though they are down a little bit in CS, like you said, they had the better half of the early game all-in 1v1. And we're also seeing that they got the first dragon, right? So they now are closer to seeing a little bit of poke back and forth from the Yone onto the Syndra, but it doesn't seem like she minds much, and she's just going to continue farming. And realistically, their team comp was kind of set up to just do that, right?
Right. Now, something that is a little concerning is all of the mana bars on the side of Cloud9. They seem to really be struggling with just autoing the wave to keep their push, so they have to use their spells. The Sivir's almost out of mana. Syndra's been low mana every time I've seen her. And when you're playing against a Yone who doesn't have mana, you can't just trade spells because he's going to win that war of attrition. So Syndra's kind of getting shoved in. You can see a fight here. Nautilus are coming through. Draven ult coming through. Nautilus ult followed. Flash coming through. Flash ult from Illusory. Doesn't quite connect. So we see a heal and a flash on the side of Cloud9 in exchange for Ignite and 2 ults from Keeper Summoners. Candy Bar should be confident to defend this wave though. And it seems like Keeper Summoner knows that and they're giving up in this case.
Right, absolutely. And I wonder if maybe that tier is why, or he got the tier first. I'm wondering if maybe that's why, because he wanted to match the initial, or the guaranteed push from Draven. Right?
I see it, yeah.
Draven wants to throw axes, push the wave out to get any use from his passive. And so to count that, maybe you wanted the tier.
Yeah, I can totally justify the tier. And it's such a strong start because Sivir has so many mana problems early that I've seen people just build tier straight off the gate without even a Doran's Blade. And so I don't fault that at all. I do think it's a little more just on controlling the wave. With 2 ranged people, if you're able to communicate it well, you should be able to poke the wave as well as Draven is. So you shouldn't be using too much mana for it, but maybe they're just trying to control it and like freeze the wave a little harder and have to use spells for that and then hard push. Either or. You see Nethermorn and Crunky both here just helping clear mid waves. Not entirely sure what's going on, but we have 5 people dancing around mid right now. And nothing comes through, and Cinder just throws 100 mana at Akari's.
Well, we do see them rotating over to the Rift Herald, and I also was going to ask about Nethermorn because he has played quite aggressively to the top side, even though bottom is just as pushed. And so I'm wondering if maybe he was doing that because of the Rift Herald objective.
I would think so. I think their Cloud9 is doing a very good job of, even though it seems a little telegraphed because we're spectating and see everything. Although we do have a dive coming in through. Exhaust comes through from the Illusory Gaming, but an Auto Soul stops it. Person throws the Neon. Tower aggro gets dropped by Grant and perfectly juggled. Everybody takes 1 tower shot and escapes with 1 tower shot worth of health on every single person except for maybe the Karthus. But Herald is dropped in exchange for top lane. We see 2 kills coming in for Keep Your Summoners in exchange for 2 or 3 plates from this top lane. So, not the worst thing in the world, but if you can see Poppy's already starting to lose these trades. And so getting some extra gold on Poppy might not be the best game plan. Definitely not over for Cloud9, but the gold lead has dropped. They're now behind 1,000 gold.
Yeah, and on top of that, they've now burned pretty much all of their summoners in the bot lane Cloud9, which is pretty ironic facing a team like Keep Your Summoners. And I have to ask that, do you think in that particular moment the Sivir perhaps should have kept her summoner?
I think so. I think the exhaust was fine. I think heal wasn't up, but if it was used, it would have been fine. But at that point, flashing, the best you can hope for when you flash is that somebody has to tank 1 extra turret. But you saw the Nautilus with turret aggro walking away from the turret. And so he's going to drop that aggro already. And so by flashing down, you're just giving the other people saying, hey, come towards the edge of turret range before you even kill me. I'll just give you an easier path out. So probably not the best use of flash, especially because now you're at this huge disadvantage where if Nautilus pushes RQ on you, you have no way to get out of it now. And so could be a struggle here. Something else though, I just saw the lucidity boots coming in for the Sivir. So no attack speed. With the Dark Harvest, I'm inclined to think it's going to be a lethality Sivir. So potential huge chunk damage coming in. We see the Draven ult does about as much as the Sivir Q already. So that's good for Candy Bar. But Dragon Control going over to the Karthus early game is not what Cloud9 wants, especially with the start that they had.
And I had just noticed that Karthus, or with this 3-man gank in mid, has had almost as much success as Nethermort on the Volibear.
Yeah, which is very surprising. Ooh, good knockup coming from Atari's. Had to use the E to pull back though. Graham missing the hook, but he still lands the auto root. The flash for the blast gun comes through. That's again Graham missing the hook. The ignite gets the kill though. Huge play. Spirit Breaker, I think he just 1v2'd bot lane. Yeah.
He had to if his support was.
Karthus didn't even ult for that. Netherborn should clean this up. Better clean this up. Oh boy. Netherborn. I think his Q got canceled, so it should come back up. Nope, there's a Yone there. At least he didn't. Oh, he's going for it. He greeted for it.
He had no vision.
He didn't know that the Yone was up there. That feels so bad for Cloud9. They saw the advantage. They made the right play. And I don't know what happened exactly, but they saw that there was an Nautilus mid. So they saw 4 members of Keeper Summoners on the top half of the map. So they said, okay, let's go in bot. But having no sums up, and I think their ults were still on cooldown from last fight. I know Seraphine ult is a really long cooldown. The Draven just out-traded. Maybe he flashed the Seraphine ult or the Seraphine Q or the Sivir Q. But all of the damage coming in just got survived by this Draven, and he just out-traded. And this is kind of the problem with the Lucidity boots. You poke a lot, you do a lot of damage, but it doesn't do anything. You're having a huge trade in the middle, though. Kelvier had to drop the ult just to scare Achilles off. And we see another stun coming in. Top lane, fighting happening everywhere right now, and none of it is good for Cloud9. They're losing every single lane. Now, Achilles has his ult in a couple seconds. Good phase rush, good dodge here from Kelvier. The ignite comes through. Oh, he's zigzagging too hard. And no, all you did.
And then we saw, like I had mentioned before, about the Karthus ulti just coming out of the jungle and cleaning up when that probably was already an Atara's kill, I would think. But, I mean, that just means that, I mean, you look at this Karthus, he's 3-0-2. That is an accelerated Karthus. And
absolutely.
There's going to come a time, I'm pretty sure, where that ulti is going to be doing a lot of damage. It's going to make the members of Cloud9 quite sad.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, we see Karthus Q is just half health Be Mad. Forces the flash. 0 help from the Renekton here. Be Mad having a flash. Poppy running flash isn't great. Nethermorn running in here. Stops the back from some pony, and then sees that there's pink ward. Assumes Karthus is still nearby, so he backs up. But let's look at the levels. Even levels top lane, although B-Mad just barely pushed over to 11. We got a level advantage for Crunky in the jungle. We got a level advantage for Tari's, I'm not sure, in the mid lane. And we have a 2-level advantage for this Draven here in the bot lane. And the supports are the same. Okay, it just barely ticked over to 1, but still huge advantage for Spirit Breaker. Even though Sivir started 2-0-1, she's died 3 times in this lane. Draven is now 3-1-3 with a 400 gold bounty. He has complete control of this lane.
Right, and one thing that would be concerning to me, besides that Draven axe hitting me in the face, is you mentioned that the level advantage, and we're even looking at the CS. I mean, Salmon Pony is up a full almost 20 CS, and yet his lane was the one where the enemy team spent the most time focusing him, right? So that has to bode ill of the state of the game.
Right.
If the person you camped pretty much all early game is still even ahead, really. I mean, down a kill, but we do see a fight in the river.
Oh, it is going to be a fight. Salmon's pony comes down. The Yone ult coming in. I think they both just die unless they... Oh! Be Mad comes in clutch. Crunky gets 1 kill. Terry's. Oh, Terry's played that so well. I didn't even realize he used the Yone E before he got hit by the Papio and then pulled himself back. I didn't even realize that. Well played there by him. He just goes back, finishes off what Karthus couldn't quite grasp with his ult, and that's just straight 2-0 kill for Keep Your Summoners there. Now, that fight did happen after the Rift Herald was killed. This is the second Rift Herald, so they won't be getting any plates with it, but they can maybe burn down mid tower if they use it right. Use it into this drag that's spawning in 30 seconds. The only advantage Cloud9 has right now is they have a Rift Herald and they have a 2-dragon lead. And so if they're able to use this Rift Herald to get either the mid tower or go and rotate to the dragon and get onto Soul Point, I think that's huge for them. I think that has to be the play here.
Absolutely. You see another fight from the side.
Crunky gets CC to Oblivion. Well played here. The second kill on Gramp 2. TP coming in for BMAT. He knocks him away, but the Nautilus ult isn't enough. That's a double kill coming in here for Candy Bar in the bot lane. Spirit Breaker kiting out Nethermore. Nethermore just rightfully turns around. Doesn't have smite for this, but Karthus is dead. Only thing I'm concerned about is Draven ult. I'm looking at the minimap. I don't see it coming through yet. They're pulling it out. They pink ward it. Should be secured. Draven just ulted, just barely close ult coming through, but secured by Cloud9. They are 1 dragon away. In 5 minutes, we are going to see a bloodbath for this dragon.
And so, to that point, if you're on Keep Your Summoners, and essentially, regardless of what Cloud9 has done in the early game, you've kind of been able to shore up a lot of the disadvantages that you had into advantages. Would you perhaps think that maybe you could trade a Baron for Dragon Soul? Are you that confident, or does it have to be a bloodbath there?
Keep Your Summoners, I think they know that they're stronger.
Wow, Atari's just
Atari's. Sorry, I was watching that while I was trying to talk, and Atari's just styling Calavier. Calavier, I feel like, did nothing wrong there, but Atari's just read him like a book and just outplayed. Another one dies here too, unless the shield gets through. Not enough. Buffer time wasn't enough there. Mad can take a little low, knocked up, and there's 3 people here at mid. Misses the ult. Gramp misses everything. He hasn't taken aggro yet. Stun coming through on Tataris. His E takes it back into tower range. It's not going to be enough to kill him. The tower hadn't ramped up, especially with shield though. He has the shield. And a dive coming in on the spot lane. Illusory Gaming dies. And that is just 4 kills. Candy Bar is the only one alive right now. That was just a series of bad events. Calavier gets outplayed by Ataris. The Karthus ult kills Nethermore. BMAD gets dove under mid tower, and Renekton and I don't know why Renekton and Draven are in the same lane, but they killed Illusory Gaming because of it. And Keep Your Summoners just has complete control of this game.
And Crunky on the Karthus benefits from all of that because the ulti that he hit the bot laners with transferred over into a couple free assists.
Right.
So I guess now the better question is, can Cloud9 actually hold out until they have a Dragon Soul win condition? Because right now it's looking like this is Keep Your Summoners game to lose.
I agree. Now, if you're Cloud9, you have to ask yourself this question. Is fighting for Cloud Soul the right play here? I don't think you can give it up, because if you just leave a dragon up and don't get anything back, you're just making the game state worse for yourself. But does Cloud9 intentionally let Keep Your Summoners prevent Soul Point and go for a quick Baron and try to melt a Baron in exchange for just 1 Cloud Drag? Do you think that's their play?
I think you're definitely going to get a lot more, in my opinion, in the short haul from a Baron than you are from Cloud Soul, right? With the Baron, you might be able to take back some of the lane dominance that you had lost. I mean, if you look at the state of the game, Cloud9 hasn't taken a single tower. Even with the first Rift Herald, that outer top lane tower is still there. And we see that now they're all collapsing for the support.
But game gets run down. We can see the stun come through, and Draven is taken down. Spirit Breaker's killed really fast with TP coming in from Silent Pony. He gets the Strike Breaker double E onto Calavier. 2 of them are dead for Cloud9. The Yone's coming through. He's in the top lane, so no gigs here. It's just the two here. BMAD flash stuns onto this Renekton. 2 more kills coming in favor of Cloud9. That is a 2 for 3 in favor of Cloud9, plus a teleport advantage now in this top lane very soon. But Crunky looking to secure it. Does not have the Karthus Soul, so he can't kill another one unless he wraps all the way around. Looks like he's just going to counter jungle, which I think is the right move, but the wolves are gone. So, huge play from Cloud9. If they can keep finding picks like that, especially on the Spirit Breaker, this man hurts. If they could keep Spirit Breaker down and then realize that they have double TPs versus 1, so play away from this Yone, I think that's how they win these fights and start winning the game.
Absolutely, and at the start of that fight, not to beat a dead horse with an old meme, but I thought it was a bamboozle. I mean, Keep Your Summoners is all over the map. You find Gramph in the bot lane, seemingly by himself. You collapse on him, and then suddenly there's chaos by the Gromp, right? You've got, I believe it was Sam and Pony teleporting in.
Right. Yeah.
Crunky collapses in after using his ulti. And I feel like that's the biggest part about a Karthus jungle that it's hard to quantify because he has map presence with that ulti anywhere he is.
Yeah, and I think that was what made the fight so close, because it was at the very beginning of the fight a 4v2 in favor of Cloud9. And then they got one roam down, and some people's Keep Summoners came in. But Cloud9 had that huge tempo advantage. But what just happened here I really did not like. Cloud9 had won the fight. They had full control of the map right there. And then 30 seconds before Dragon spawns, they were all in the river. They didn't place any wards. They didn't clear any vision. They just saw that there was a Yone walking towards them, and they just all backed up and just gave a free Cloud Dragon to Keep Your Summoners, even though Cloud9 had all of its members there or a TP available. I think they should have tried to force that fight a little bit because they knew people were still responding. But now we're doing a little bit of a Baron dance here.
I think I would have preferred to see the team or Cloud9 try to rush a Baron. I feel like maybe at this point in the game, you're not so desperate, but you're getting there. You're not. You have to. I always say that you don't want to play to not lose. You want to play to win, because if you play to not lose for too long, then you're gonna make a mistake and you're gonna lose.
I agree. Now, in favor of Cloud9, if they do take it to super late game, talking like 4, 5, 6 items, I think the Karthus becomes less and less viable. Even though he scales very well, I think the Seraphine W is going to be enough to just mitigate that Karthus ult. He throws R, you push W right at the end, the shield blocks some of it, and then you heal up a lot of the rest of it, and you have a full stacked Moonstone. If that doesn't happen in the middle of a team fight, then Seraphine should be able to block a lot of that damage, and so Karthus is going to lose a lot of his strength by the Seraphine scaling. And also you have a Sivir who just scales to infinity. Although Calavir getting run down here by Sound Pony, stun buffered in. He gets the stun. Calavir does scatter the weak, but phase rush procced with that Q. Another dash coming through. Did he get the reset? He did. Gets that reset with the Stride Breaker slows. Summon Pony just runs down Calavir, and at the same time, Baron's getting started for Keep Your Summoners. This is going to have to be a steal from Nethermore. He goes in late, and I think he just dies for this. He flashes away from the Nautilus ult, but Ateres drops his ult to go in. Can the Seraphine keep him alive? It looks like yes for now, but the Ignite takes him down. Oh, good flash buffer from Illusory Gaming, but at the same time, Ateres still has that E, and there's not enough healing, I don't think, to keep the Seraphine alive, so she drops. So that is a Baron, a solo kill in the bot lane, and 2 kills next to the Baron in favor of Keep Your Summoners. This game started out 0 to 3 kills. It is now 19 to 9. So you take out that level 1, it is 19 to 6 in favor of Keep Your Summoners. World leaders at 12,000. I'm not sure exactly what Cloud9 should have done differently, if they could pinpoint it to one thing or if it's just death by 1,000 cuts here. But something needs to change. You can't ask for a better lead. And to start losing like this, Be Mad might take down by the Draven. Oh, Candy Bar gets hit by it, and it forces the recall of the Draven at the toes of Be Mad. He should not be alive right now. Good scatter that we coming in from Calavir. Grant tries to counter engage, but just hooks a minion, and Candy Bar clears the wave. But we still have a solid minute and a half on this Baron for Keep Your Summoners to push.
Absolutely, and I do think that it was probably death by 1,000 cuts. I almost wonder if you're Nethermorn, maybe you're kicking yourself a little, not playing around your lane that was already winning. I know that a lot of times you might think that all right, I have one lane ahead, now I need to go get another lane ahead. But do you think maybe he should have put the pressure more on bot lane? Because even though they were behind, they were pushing aggressively, as Draven almost has no choice but to do. Do you think maybe they should have just forced the issue bot lane?
Oh, we might see the shooting guy here. I think he gets out. The hook misses, so I think it's safe. I do think so. I think this game isn't on Nethermorn, though. If you look at objectives, even though their team's been losing for the majority of them, he's gotten 3 Dragons for his team and 2 Rift Heralds. He's just, with the exception of just barely, they gave up a Dragon and then a Baron, but they had full objective control, at least neutral objectives before that. PMAD is just trying to hit Salmon Pony here, but there's just no way to stop him. If he doesn't draw tower aggro, there's no way to stop him from taking that tower. BMAD is a full tank here. I think what I would like to see, although we do see a Sivir ult come through, they're trying to run down here. They get the stun onto Funky, dropping that half health. The Terry's goes in, they got flanked from behind by Graham, and here comes that Karthus ult, drops Nethermorn. We see Calavera drop, Candy Bar doesn't have the spell shield up to block Graham's hook, and now it's just BMAD still trying to stop this Renekton top lane. I think the only way BMAD wins this is if the towers, honestly probably both towers are helping him out, but Salmon Pony just said, I'm just going to take all of your inhibs. I don't care about your Nexus towers right now. And he's got a huge double stack wave mid lane to help him. BMAD has to clear the top wave, and this game is just looking done for Cloud9.
Yeah, you had a 4v4 engage in the blue side of your jungle of your Cloud9, and you actually had a better, the better half of it. BMAD getting caught underneath those double towers reminds me of a story from my childhood of the little engine that could, the little train that could. He's trying, but
he can't. This is a sad storybook. No, we do have the rest of the team coming in to help clear the way, so the game's not over yet, but 15,000 gold lead is not looking good for Cloud9.
No, and in that team fight, as I was saying, you had the better end of it almost. You did catch one of their members out and burst them down almost immediately, although in that situation it's a Karthus. If you kill him first, is it a huge advantage? I mean, he still gets that
does
time.
Damage for free now.
Yeah, he gets to spam his abilities for another 5 seconds, I believe is the passive length. So I feel like if you're Cloud9 right now, you're probably sweating pretty hard.
Yeah, 100%. I am very surprised that Axe did not do more damage. I don't think it crit, but I would not have been surprised if he was doing about half health by that Axe. But we see a stun coming in Sound Pony. Sterix is dropped. Papio hits him away. He's launched out, so it is temporary 4v5, but the health is just low. Seraphine using that shield gives everybody a heal up, but we have double super waves crashing into top and bot lane. So Cloud9 has to retreat under their turret, and they're both about to drop. And we get the spectator delay, so I think that means the game is over. I'm assuming they just dove towers or took towers and killed them both, but I don't see any way Cloud9 didn't win that game, or didn't lose that game. Keep Your Summers didn't win that.
You know, I was just about to ask, who do you think won that game? As it was pretty much up in the air with the two towers still there.
It was close. I couldn't have guessed.
So that is the first match of the best of 3 series. We saw Cloud9 started really well, and then things went really bad.
I think a few tweaks could have saved the game. We talked about it right at the beginning, but if Sivir had spec'd into damage from those 2 kills right off the beginning, instead of just, I'm going to play for late, I'm getting boots in a tier, like nothing that helps me win against this Draven. If she got double longswords there, Draven can't fight. And if Draven can't fight, what's Draven going to do? Like, Draven doesn't outscale a Sivir. And so by going into early damage, you're stopping Draven from stopping you from getting to late game. And so I think we see the Sivir play a little more aggressive, build a little more aggressive, and a little more poke coming in from the Seraphine. I think that bot lane switches and the game could be completely different.
Absolutely. And again, with the tier buy, we had talked about matching the lane push. But perhaps that's a moment of where you're playing to not lose, where you have a huge advantage and
Right.
maybe you push it to win.
Right.
And I definitely agree that maybe a more aggressive purchase, especially with two early kills in the early game, maybe things go a little bit differently.
Right. Yeah. And I don't see Cloud9 getting another advantage like that in the early game. I think that was the best they could have asked to start off. But at the same time, if they've learned on how they lost that game, if they take that and just apply some lessons to the next game, they might not need a big lead to win the next one. I think if they start just tweaking a couple little things, they can build their own lead in a less eventful level 1 fashion.
Right. Well, we'll have to see in the next game because if that was me, I would have to think that I'd be a little bit tilted. I mean, you came with a really strong level 1. Enemy face checks you, so how much of that was planned, how much of that was an accident, but either way, you were gifted a really strong early start, and then to give it up like that so quickly, we'll have to see if Cloud9 can keep their heads cool to
Right.
into the second game because this is essentially your last shot to either take this to game 3 or to be out of the playoffs.
Right. We have to see a reverse sweep coming in from Cloud9 here. Now, this won't be the last time we see them. If they lose, it'll go into the third place match. But nobody wants to play in a third place match. They don't want to be there at finals. So something's going to have to change. I'd like to see a little more aggression in the lanes. I've talked about it, but top lane, at least rank-wise, is the closest matchup that Cloud9 has. And so I'd like to see something not so passive coming in from this top lane. Let's see some win condition, because I don't really know, besides just say, let's go even and take it to late, we have a Seraphine Sivir. I don't see how Cloud9 wins that game.
Right, absolutely. And so for the next game, do you think perhaps they take away? We saw Sam and Pony get two of his biggest comfort picks banned out, picks up the Renekton, gets focused for pretty much the entire early game, and still is able uh, to pull out in that game and be useful. So I guess my next question would be, do you think they completely try to get him out of the game? Do you think perhaps the bans stay the same, but they try to take that Renekton away from him, keep pushing him down that ladder of champions he's uncomfortable on? Or do you think his champion pool is just too deep?
I'm not entirely sure on champion pool, but my initial reaction would just be, it doesn't matter what he's playing, as long as you're playing something that can beat it. So I doubt they're going to save top pick for very last. I don't know who gets blue side, who gets red side here, but at very best try to counter pick it and wait for them to pick and then go. But either way, they have a lot to discuss and they should be having the same conversations we have. So we're going to take it to a break and we'll catch you right back for game number 2 of the GameTyrant Winter Series semifinal. And welcome back to our GameTyrant Winter Series here. We are in game number 2 of the semifinals between Keep Your Summoners and Cloud9. We have seen Cloud9 get a very great early start, and then Keep Your Summoners was able to balance it out, get a couple good plays off, and then they took over the game just by snowballing with their impressive champions, and they ended up winning that game. So it is 1-0 in favor of Keep Your Summoners. So we're seeing if Keep Your Summoners can win out the series clean here, or if we're going to see a potential game 3 into maybe a reverse sweep by Cloud9. But we should be seeing draft come up here soon. But last game, what do you think needs to change?
I feel like a couple things need to change, especially if you're Cloud9. One, I feel like if you're going to play the safe, and again, this isn't a slight towards Nethermorn,
Right.
but I feel like if you're going to play the safe solo laners, you need to attack that bot lane. Like I had said before, Draven was pushed as he needs to be with his passive. You already have a good bot lane state. I feel like that's what you attack.
Right.
You had said before that Spirit Breaker is one of the better players on Keep Your Summoner, and we saw that with the 1v2. So I feel like maybe you need to attack him a little bit. You know what I mean? Let the top laners. You said that that's an even, mostly even matchup. Let them even themselves out.
Right.
We know that Calvier likes to play the control mages. He likes to play safe in the mid lane. Let him do that and attack that bot lane.
I agree 100%. And entirely like on it doesn't matter what rank he is. If he's going against a 2-0 laner who is getting ganked all the time, you can't take that over. You should just be losing here. But we see bans coming through, pretty similar bans, but we see the Yone ban coming in for Cloud9 instead. And then in response, Keep Your Summoners has to ban the Hecarim to stop it getting picked by Cloud9. Very strong jungler that usually gets counter picked by the Olaf. Or sorry, not the Olaf, the Udyr. The Olaf is strong as well, but all three of those champions banned out. Now we see the Nautilus again coming in for Keep Your Summoners. I'm inclined to think that Gramp is a one-trick here because I don't see any other reason to pick Nautilus this priority.
Perhaps. I mean, I think that could be the case. Or do you think maybe that they're trying to set up for more counter picks? I mean, you pick
That is
your
true.
support early, and again, if it's not broken, I mean, we saw him
Yeah.
do pretty well. He missed a couple of hooks, but for the most part, his Nautilus play was pretty solid. And I don't know if they're gonna lock this in, but I'll be honest, I do not like the Leona into Nautilus.
Yeah, I would agree.
A lot of people seem to think that Leona counters Nautilus, but I wonder. So there's a special interaction I don't know if you know about that. If Leona throws her E out, her Zenith Blade, if Nautilus throws his hook at the same time, they both come together, and because the way Nautilus hooks work, where they bounce off each other and
Right.
land, Leona's never in range to get her Q off, and
Okay.
therefore is kind of stuck in enemy lines with both of them just kind of looking at her. I don't know if a
Okay.
lot of people knew about that interaction, but
Muda coming in. Okay, so we got some other picks. Silas, I think is going top lane because Salmon Pony does play Silas a lot. But we see the Nico, which I would also like to think is top lane. BMAD does enjoy playing that Nico. He plays the on hit. I don't know if he goes Nashers or AD anymore, but he does like using that E passive on Nico. A Dr. Mundo should be jungle, maybe top if the Nico's going mid, but Dr. Mundo is something that we haven't seen a lot of, but I'm not terribly opposed to it.
I actually do think that, especially into the Skarner, who I believe in team fights offers a little more, I don't think the Mundo is bad into the Skarner. Because things like when you have a Skarner on the enemy team, one thing that's nice to have on your team is to get rid of targets. Skarner doesn't necessarily want to drag a Mundo into the middle of his team.
Right.
Or a Leona, right? He wants to go for people like Nico, but having something like a Mundo and a Leona front line reduces the amount of targets he has. We see a Sivir ban from Cloud9. Do you think they've just kind of given up on that? Is Spirit Breaker a known Sivir player?
I think Sivir's just a strong pick right now, but maybe they said we need something stronger early. we're playing a Leona here. If the Kaisa doesn't get picked up by Keeper Summoners here, a Callista coming in through from Keeper Summoners.
A pick of your own namesake.
Yes, I'm okay. But as someone who's played a lot of Callista, playing it into Leona is not fun. If Leona just waits for you to throw a dash, she just gets a guaranteed either E or R off onto you every single time. And I don't really, I think already too much lockdown on the side of Cloud9 where if they're coordinated enough, okay, Ash is unique into Callista because Callista, obviously she gets dashes for every auto. That's what makes her champion unique. But the interesting thing about her dashes is the dash time is based off of not only attack speed, but movement speed. And so Ash's passive, where she slows the enemy, actually reduces Callista's DPS. So by slowing down this Callista, Ash should win every trade with her. Given she's like proc lethal tempo or has Q stacked, I think in a quick trade, Callista should win if Ash doesn't get lethal tempo Q off. But Ash into Tristana mid. I think they were thinking it was Tristana into Silas, which I guess it is, unless that's a Nocturne mid. But we have an insane team comp coming in from Keep Your Summoners here. It's all over the place with what they want to do. They want a team fight with this Skarner and like get picks, but they want extended team fights with Callista and kind of Silas, but also like flanks coming in from Nautilus and like Hardengate, it's all over the place. I don't really know what to think of it, but I don't hate it either.
When I look at Keep Your Summoners, the only consistency I see through their team is we want to go at you.
True.
We want the Nocturne to dive your backline. The Nautilus is going to hook in. The Silas also has a dash with the chains, can drag himself into a fight. Callista can take whoever she wants, really. I mean, early game you'll probably take your lane partner, but you are able to switch, if I'm not mistaken, who your ult is attached to, no?
It's very technical, but the short answer is no. Pretty much whoever you bind to has to leave the game for you to be able to rebind.
Got you. So, do you bind the Nautilus, or do you bind someone like the Skarner and kind of say, you know what, our lane state's a little bit weaker in the early game, but being able to throw someone like a Skarner at your enemy to have him then grab someone who is a priority target, like say the Nico, and drag them back in, if you're a Spirit Breaker, do you think that might be worthwhile?
I don't dislike it, because the reason the ult is weaker or stronger in lane is because you're using that W passive, where if you both auto the same target, you do max health. But how many times is Nautilus going to be ulting somebody unless you're going in hard, which they might need to, but I wouldn't be opposed to binding with the Skarner, but something that I don't know if Keep Your Summoners knows is if Skarner ults, Callista can ult the Skarner back. And it's kind of like doing that Thresh Lantern Skarner
and
interaction.
And it stays attached, correct?
It does stay attached, but there's enough of a pause where you can't relaunch with them still hooked in. So you're able to get them to Callista, but not behind Callista. And so it might be something worthwhile to test out. And regardless of if that works or not, you can definitely always just send him in, and then he just knocks somebody up with Callista ult. And if he goes Phase Rush, he honestly has enough time to proc that Phase Rush by like hitting him with ult, throwing an E smite, and then pushing R. He has Phase Rush and he runs backwards with Phase Rush, and he just pulls somebody all the way back, and then he gets the stun afterwards. I think it could be a really, really deadly combo. But we'll see how they bind. I think the safer move is just to bind to the Nautilus, but if they're feeling spicy, honestly, any of these people are perfectly good to bind.
Absolutely. Well, we do see that is, in fact, a Nocturne mid. It reminds me of, I believe they're a Korean player, the name Doinby.
Doinby, yeah.
Gets thrown around a lot.
He's in China.
Oh, he's in China, okay.
But yes.
I don't watch a lot of LPL or LCK, but I hear a lot of people talk about Doinby and how he's that mid laner who plays the weird stuff, plays the Nocturne, plays Scion, plays Set, you know what I mean? So, and this is one thing I loved, and we were talking about during the break, is Ataras is not afraid to play strange things.
Whatever he wants.
Whatever he wants, really.
Yeah.
We've seen him bust out the Yone a lot to great effect. We've also seen him bust out the Vladimir.
Right.
Now we're seeing the Nocturne.
And both of those were banned, so like Cloud9 is aware that he plays. Yone is a meta pick, but Vladimir is not. So like they're aware that he plays these weird things. But yeah, put out a Nocturne. Now, one thing that I did notice, if you just look at both sides, the range advantage for Cloud9 is astronomical. You have 4 melee champions on Keep Your Summoners and 3 ranged on Cloud9. So if these guys are able to kite at all, which their CC is a little more limited, but with Nico roots and Ashe ult and Tristana ult, these guys are able to go kite out decently. But at the same time, there's so much engage potential on Keep Your Summoners that's just insanely hard to do.
Well, that's true, and I think it might also come down to the Leona. Do you, as one of the few frontliners, I mean, when you have a super heavy poke comp, I can see the Mundo now, right?
Right.
He's someone who's going to absorb a lot of damage, pop his ultimate, absorb a lot more damage. I mean, he's going to absorb like 2, maybe 2.5 tank champions worth of health, right? Then you have the Leona to back him up. If you're the Leona, if you're Illusory Gaming, do you maybe hold your ulti not for an engage, but to maybe zone or to catch people as they're engaging in on top of you rather than using it aggressively?
I think that's a potential, but the more I think about it, the more I think that Cloud9 has to be the one to pull the trigger here. Just throw an Ashe ult in and hit somebody and go in, because it's kind of the same thing we said last time, where like the Nocturne isn't good at running away. Skarner is kind of good at running away, but not great. You have the Sylas who has like 1 mini dash before he runs out of stuff. Kalista can kite completely fine, but Nautilus has to like hook a wall again. So while it's not ideal because you can get kited by the Kalista and there is a huge front line to get through, I think if you can get a pick with this Ashe ult, especially onto either the Sylas Nocturne or Kalista, and then like throw an Ashe ult, Leona goes in onto it, and then you have Nico there to zone out and peel your backline, I think getting that early pick should be able to win you the team fights.
Absolutely, and it's not to say that Cloud9 are any slouches when it comes to full engaged team fights. You
Right.
have the Nico who can ult, gets a massive shield from whoever's nearby, and having a bunch of melee champions probably means a bunch of people are going to be nearby
Right.
her. The Mundo is going to run around, throw around cleavers. They might not want to focus him. I think the only downside from Mundo is, in my personal opinion, as soon as a grievous wound gets applied to you, you are not a champion anymore.
Right.
You have the Tristana who can jump in, jump out, jump back in, as many times as her W will allow. So it's not to say that I think that the members of Cloud9 and the champions they chose are slouches in full-on engaged team fights, but I feel like some of the identity that they've drafted is, all right, we have Nico binding. We have Tristana ulti. We have Ashe W, Ashe ulti. Mundo's cleavers also slow. It seems like a lot of what they want to do is keep people away from them until it's time to engage in on them, right? And maybe that's what the Leona is for, is, all right, we've poked you down. You're all at half health. Leona ult comes down. Ashe ult comes down. Tristana's jumping in. Nico's flash ulting. And then suddenly, you know what I mean? I do think that their team comp probably wants to poke a little bit more, but I also feel like poking you out until you're about half health, then hard engaging are the kind of things where this is a team comp that needs to prioritize neutral objectives.
Right.
You need to prioritize the Dragons and the Barons because a lot of your lane state, I mean, I'm not sure every single champion to champion matchup, but it seems like, again, you've drafted safe lanes.
Right. Yeah, I'd agree. And something that you're just mentioning, like all this fight potential, you know what word I kept hearing over and over? Ult, ult, ult. And you know what champion's on the other team? A Sylas, right? So really, all 5 of these champions have completely worthwhile spells to steal from this for the Sylas. If he steals this Mundo ult, the team of Cloud9 has to get through an Aftershock Nautilus. Skarner, who's probably building Chem Tank, so he's going to be pretty tanky. and a Mundo ulting Silas with his W heals, that's a lot of health to burn through before you can even get onto the damage of this Callista and this Nocturne. That said, the damage on the side of Klowd switch, but Keeper Summoners is much lower than the damage potential for Cloud9, especially with an on-hit Nico. You have 2.5 ADCs pretty much, so if they lose one of those guys and just the Nocturne ult, Callista ult, whatever combo, that's fine. You still have an ADC and an on-hit Nico, or you have 2 ADCs left and a lot of frontline. So there is huge potential for high late game DPS coming in from Cloud9 here. We'll see if they'll be able to survive the initial burst, though, from Keeper Summoners.
Absolutely. Looking at that mid lane is one of the things I think is absolutely disgusting about a lane Nocturne. We saw the Tristana poke him down to like 3/4 of his health, and with one passive proc, he was back up to full. You know what I mean? I feel like he is definitely not a champion that you can bully out of farm as easily as some other melee mid laners, and I feel like that's definitely going to help keep your summoners.
I agree. And something that's hard for the Tristana, too, I'm not entirely sure on the interaction, but if Tristana jumps in and blows up a bomb, Nocturne can spell shield that damage. I'm not sure if the spell shield stops the Trist reset, but if it does, Trist is just dead because she gets feared, ignited by this Nocturne. You have to burn cleanse, or else I think you just die because you don't have the jump reset. So I'm not entirely sure how that goes, but if it does stop the reset, Ataris can just take over this lane. Like, Calavir can never go in, or else he'll just die.
Absolutely. And while I'm not sure about that interaction, what I do know
Maybe
is...
we'll see it right here.
Maybe.
Okay, we're not going to see the jump reset, but...
So he does block the damage. However, one thing I have noticed is if you spell shield early, you probably, or as the bomb is coming out, you probably don't have to worry about that interaction.
Well, okay, what do you mean? Like with the jump
So when
reset?
Tristana is throwing her, so you know how
so you
Tristana...
just block the initial bomb
yeah,
place?
Yeah.
Okay, I can see it. Oh, the cleanse coming through for the fear. The jump coming in forces the flash out. Nethermorn barely sly on the Keeper, but cleanse traded for flash. A complete lane prior for Calavir here. Another great start for Cloud9. Let's see if they can keep it. We're going to see a fight down here in this river, but bot lane has Prio. Smite comes through for Grunky. Fighting on Skarner Spire, not the move. Nethermorn stopped before he transitioned it, but he's winning. The auto comes through. Does he have W up in time? He does have a W to stop it, but maybe Gramp will be the sacrificial lamb here. A jump reset for Calavir potential? No. But we see the flash traded out for Spirit Breaker's flash, and I believe Crunky flash. I think that's a Hex flash charging up there.
Yes.
Yes. So 2 flashes for Calavir's flash and a kill, unfortunately, on Nethermorn, but still, first blood's first blood. And Cloud9 again looking strong in the early game here.
Look, if I'm the Mundo, I'm not complaining about an early kill. You
Sure.
probably would have wanted it on someone like the Tristana, but one thing I will say is that a lot of people, when they think of Mundo, they think of like a farm-heavy jungler. I want to sit in my jungle, I want to farm, and I want to farm, and I want to farm. However, I have found that, I mean, if you walk in the lane and you can land 1 cleaver while they're out of position, 1 cleaver becomes 2 cleavers, becomes 3 cleavers, becomes, we have an actual pretty good gank going. So while Mundo does want to sit and farm, I don't think that Mundo's ganks are that bad.
Yeah, I agree, and especially with the slow, and again with how like the frontline potential of Keeper Summoners, his cleaver's going to start to hurt, and with how melee people get to have to like get up onto Cloud9's backline, those cleavers are pretty reliable to hit. So I could see Nethermorn taking over this game if it gets to it. Now, one thing to notice is Spirit Breaker. He went for the lethal tempo as opposed to the well played by Calavir there to buffer the fear and get out safe. So he went for lethal tempo as opposed to Halo Blade. So giving up lane presence and early trading power for more late game damage, which you're going to have to do against this front line from Cloud9. So I think that's the better choice here. But it does surrender a lot of lane pressure to an already strong laner in Ashe. And as Callista, you kind of want to win lane. You kind of have to win lane. to keep even against an Ashe.
Well, we see Salmon
But-
Pony chasing
yeah.
B-Mad down, and that's going to be a
All the way
tower
to
dive and a
top.
flash.
He flashed to the side to try to predict the Q or something, but he's in range. Silas' passive is stacks. It's not a refresh when you use spells. So he had multiple of those passive spells. So B-Mad tries to flash, but the passive is enough damage to kill him there. One tower shot would have killed Salmon Pony, but not enough there. See Gank coming in from another more. Minion Wave's in the way. Crunky is down bot here. Nocturnal coming in, but I don't. Nocturnal to top onto B-Mad after he TP'd. B-Mad's just dead again. He went for the what every top laner calls the Hishinshin, where you die in lane and they TP in and get killed again because you just get repeat. And this is not good for B-Mad. He had a CS lead, but now he's down 2 kills. He's going to lose plate, maybe 2. He loses his entire double stacked wave. No TP. And Salmon Pony is able to get all this advantage and back and still have TP up. So this is the cannon wave going to crash? No, it's not going to crash. So this is actually okay for B-Mad here. I should be able to catch this. Maybe. Salmon Pony's looking to shut it. So not sure how that wave state's going to go. Good spear coming in from Spirit Breaker, but he didn't have any minions stacked, so he didn't want to wrench for the extra little bit of damage. But Noon Quiver versus Berserker Greaves in bot lane. What are your thoughts on that?
About the
Noon Quiver versus Berserker Greaves. Which one should win fights?
Oh, I think Noon Quiver wins all the time. I mean, you are getting the attack speed, maybe not as much, and you don't have the mobility, but you have the actual damage behind your auto attacks, right? And to touch upon what you were saying about the Nocturne, I think that that's super unfortunate because not only did Nocturne ult top get the kill, but he also caused a pause in that bot lane gank because even though you're communicating with your teammates, as soon as the lights get turned off, you're going to react. There's that animal instinct where you're not going to wait to see who goes, oh my god, the Nocturne's on me. You're just, you're walking away.
Right. And so he kind of won both fights there by pushing R. So well played by Aterius there. The more I think about it, the more I want these bot lane items switched. Because Callista does greatly benefit from getting boots. She gets more jump distance based on her boot tier. And so getting more boots, and she does less damage per auto. So getting more autos in to stack spears, I think is bigger. Yeah, for the rend. Especially with lethal tempo whatsoever. But a huge fight coming in. Nevermore pops the ult. Salmon Pony steals that Silas, or steals the Mundo. I don't think it's going to be enough damage coming in from Cloud9. And Salmon Pony survives with the Mundo. B-Man gets run down again, gets the root. It's not empowered though. First target. Stun coming in for Crunky. Can Salmon Pony finish it? Uses the W, gets the heal, goes all the way under tower, and he survives. Double kill coming in for the Salmon Pony. And that's what we were saying with that stolen Mundo ult. He gets way tankier than his health bar looks.
Absolutely. Anyone who's played against the Silas knows how disgusting that self-healing can be. I feel like if you're B-Mad right now, you need to pause whatever you were building and build that, I can't remember the name
Oblivion
of it.
Orb.
Yes, the Oblivion Orb.
Yes.
You need to build an Oblivion Orb yesterday because that, if you had that Grievous Wounds and the healing reduction, even stealing the Mundo ult, I mean, we saw a moment where Silas got to about 200 health. That potentially could have been a kill if you had those Grievous Wounds.
Absolutely. And I think it would have been a kill, maybe even 2. So the score would have been 3-2 right now as opposed to 1-4 if you just picked up that Oblivion Orb instead. We're seeing 400 gold bounty on the Silas. 4-0. All of the kills for Keep Your Summoners in this top lane. If B-Mad is able just to stay safe and neutralize the lane, he's doing okay in CS. XP, he's down a level, but that's expected when you're down 4 kills. If he's able just to neutralize, then it's still definitely winnable by Cloud9 here. They're only down 600 gold right now. Plenty of room to come back and recover from this lead.
Absolutely. And one thing that we do see is the scoreboard will tell you that it's 1 kill to 4, but all of those kills are on Salmon Pony. So being up that many kills doesn't mean that the entirety of Keep Your Summoners is that far ahead. It just means that there is one person on that team that you definitely have to watch out for. And at this point, I mean, generally speaking, I had said build the Oblivion Orb as fast as possible. Generally speaking, you don't do that. You build your mythic item or something like that.
Right.
But he is starting to get ahead to the point where you might need to start prioritizing the...
Look at that. Yeah, you need that. B-Mad absolutely winning the fight. Silas pushes W. B-Mad's at 2/3 HP and he's back to full.
winning the fight with that massive, that was not a small creep wave beating on him. That was like two and a half stacked creep wave beating on him. And Silas just with one ability, oh, we have Bushwhack.
Stops the Callista with the ult though. Well played by Illusory Gaming. Turn aggro onto Crunky here. He may drop for this. No, one tower shot too short. So, again, just Illusory Gaming playing a little too far up. Gets killed. It's the first time this game. Calavir going in though. No spell shield from Mateus. All of Keeper Summoners there is there to keep it safe. So, Candy Bar getting hooked in by this Nautilus. Nobody's behind. But it seems like Cloud9's getting a little desperate and they're trying to force fights even though they know the rest of the team is right there.
Absolutely. I mean, the Tristana chasing the Nocturne down, I mean, we always say that, follow your laner, right? If they're going to gank, then you can come in with a good counter gank. But also in this, we have some more fighting in the jungle. Crunky getting a little greedy for that red buff, but is not going to be able to get it as it is safely handed back over to Nethermore. As I was saying before that, the fight in bot lane has kind of already happened, and as a Tristana, if Ataris decides to ult in.
Oh, we see the insect coming in. The spell shield comes through. Bomb blows up after the spell shield, but we're seeing TP coming in from Salmon Pony. What ult does he steal? What does he take? Illusory Gaming missing the Zenith Blade, so he doesn't lock down Salmon Pony. Gets the stun though through, and that's a shutdown onto Calavir. That's exactly who you want that one onto. Calavir, I think, is the win condition here for Cloud9. 100%.
Absolutely. Late game Tristana is super scary. The faster you can get her to that late game state where she's got like 3 items, she continues to get that attack range boost, which is even better against, a team of almost all melee. But we do see...
The Nautilus gets through, does not get buffered with the jump. Calavir, I think, just dies for this. Let's see if Nethermore's able to get out with the flash. Matched flash by Crunky. And 2 kills just traded right back. They get the 1 kill, but they overagreed to drop that Herald. The rest of the team rotates out, and so Keeper Summoners is able to collapse in on them and get that kill.
We did see in the meantime, though, quite like we saw last game, except with a different outcome. They noticed that Spirit Breaker is by himself, his support is roaming, they all in him, and they get a kill onto Candy Bar.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, we see another Mad. Doesn't get the root come through. Oh, just matching Nico ult. He buffered it through the stun. Oh, that feels so bad to see. The Cyrus dash put him behind the Nico, so the Nico missed the root, and Salmon Pony just wins that fight at full HP. I don't even think it could be that far up. He's got boots plus his whole Everfrost versus your components of an Everfrost here. You don't even have the upgraded Kindle gem yet. So you just can't be that far out into lane. And it may be a proto belt coming in. Actually, because you need the last chapter for Everfrost. So I think it's a proto belt coming in here for Be Mad. But Salmon Pony takes down the first tower. Even with the Rift Herald being dropped for Cloud9, first tower goes in favor of Salmon Pony. That's just how far ahead he is in this lane.
We see Graham again flashing over the
Good
wall.
Buffer.
Oh my. I think they're going to be able to walk it out. Calavir, a little bit of a greedy path, stepping back towards Spirit Breaker for an auto attack that maybe he knew that Gramp didn't have his dredge line, the Q, but if he did, that might be a dead Calavir.
Yeah. And something to point out is the mythic items. Calavir went for the Kraken Slayer, which gives you bonus true damage on every 3rd hit. I don't think it's bad, but I think the Gale Force is just much better here. Yes, you are playing into 2 tanks, kind of a 3rd, but you shouldn't be dropping your bombs on front line. With your jump, you should be waiting for the CC to come out, and you just jump in, throw that on the Nocturne or the Grayscale, and burn up. But we see Salmon Pony just says, I'm fed, I can do whatever I want with you. Calavir tries to get a couple autos, burns him down, so the Mundo ult gets used all the way through on Salmon Pony. He stays at about half HP through that ult. No kills coming in there. I'm not entirely sure what else was used. It looks like the Nautilus ult dredge line in exchange for bot lane ults and the Nocturnal on another one himself. Okay, we'll see if Calavir ever jumps here. Okay. I'm not entirely sure if that jump reset goes through. But yeah, this Nocturne pick into Tristana, the more I see it, the more I like it. Because Tristana's idea is just to shove lane and then roam. But Nocturne can clear lane with Q auto, and then if he has Iron Spike Whip or Stride Breaker, he just clears the wave on his own too. And even though he's late to the rotate, he's first one there because of his ult. And then Tristana only has one damage spell. She has a jump that technically does damage, but it's really just for mobility and engage. An attack speed steroid on Q, and then the bomb, which is where all of the damage comes through. And so the spell shield is so good against Tristana because half of her damage gets blocked by one spell shield. But we see a fight coming in through here for BMAT. Has to flash away after dropping the ult. Crunky props that phase rush. The ult coming on to Gramp by the Callista. Runs down. Netherborn gets rooted. The CC coming in on. He has tenacity with the passage, but it's not enough. The Solar Flare coming in from Illusory Gaming just to try to disengage. But already your top side of the map is just dead with that engage. They really only used Callista ult to engage that, and one flash, I think, from Spirit Breaker. But this is just, the game's just too far ahead for Keeper Summoners right now that they can't even walk in the jungle.
Absolutely. Almost a 4K, 3.5K gold lead. And one thing we did talk about is that they did draft safe lanes that weren't necessarily supposed to bully. But I don't think you were supposed to give up this much agency this early. I will say the one thing that I had noticed that I feel like is kind of a saving grace for Cloud9 is that Calavir on that Tristana, if you watch during these team fights, her auto attacks demand some respect.
Absolutely.
The fight bot lane, Salmon Pony walked out. I mean, he was able to heal up later on.
Oh no, Candy Bar gets hit by the dredge line, gets Nautilus ulted into the root, into the ignite, and even though there's no damage champion there, it's a tank Skarner and a tank Nautilus, Candy Bar just can't survive. He just gets on the edge of his tower range, just gets run down. One thing I did want to point out though is 3 Grievous Wounds items. Oh, got another fight, never mind. Huge fight coming in, Illusory Gaming drops Solar Flare. Netherborn is just not tanky enough. Even without Grievous Wounds coming in against him, his ult just isn't enough. Netherborn gets dropped, Illusory Gaming gets feared by Terry's with that lethal tempo, just runs everybody down. The Stride Breaker slows enough to keep kiting, and Spirit Breaker shows up, says, alright, well, you killed them all, I'm just going to take this tower now.
Calavir roaming down to the bottom with the arrow.
The arrow coming in, the bombs get planted. The shield though is with heal. Does he pop the ult? He pops the ult, it gets the kill, gets the trade kill by Calavir. I don't think there's a shutdown, but I think it's worth. BMAT TP'd in behind. It's a ult in onto him. He does. We should see an ult coming in from the Nico right away. Gets the shield, buffers the fear, but it's just not enough. There's too much lockdown on the side of Keeper Summoners. Candy Bar kind of at risk here, but he's got Netherborn and Illusory Gaming behind him, so he should be safe.
So one thing you had mentioned about the kill on Ashe was that they didn't have a damage champion, but they were still able to kill him. I found that it doesn't matter how much damage my opponent does if they never actually get a chance to do any of that damage to me.
They can't move.
If you CC lock them until they're dead, then the amount of damage they could do, well, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Right, exactly. Calavir just looking to go in. He realizes that his team's fallen behind. He needs to do something. And something I think looks bad, but is a good move here, is BMAT actually upgraded the entire Morelos. So now if he ever lands multiple spells on enemy, I think it's 3 spells in like proc, the Grievous goes from 40% to 60%. And with the Callista healing and the Silas healing plus whatever ult he steals, if he steals the Mundo ult, the 60% Grievous Wounds is the strongest Grievous Wounds on the map right now. And so he says basically, look, I'm weak. I'm not going to be able to solo kill anybody. My mythic item isn't going to do much. But what I will do is I will stop them from killing him. And so if he's able to get that combo out onto the entire team, he sets up the rest of his team to do the damage. I think it's the...
Well, what they need to stop is this. As we know, Callista can take Barons very quickly.
True.
And if I'm Cloud9 and I don't see the enemy team anywhere on the map, I would think that you would have to know that this is coming. Do you think that they just thought they couldn't fight them? I mean, their entire team comp is set up around, like I said, fighting around these objectives with all their poke, right? They have all their ultimates. Do you think this was just kind of a blunder? They didn't expect them to go for a 20-minute Baron?
I'm going to be completely honest. I think it was 20 minutes in the game and Cloud9 didn't even realize that it was up. The flash, but the fear comes through. again, the tenacity from Mundo's kit is putting in, but he's kind of just doing laps. He does get run down there. I don't think he's level 11 yet. Maybe he's level 11, but this ultimate just isn't cutting it. It isn't single power. Oh, we see Candy Bar gets rooted, gets hooked. Nocturnal comes in just to secure the kill. Illusory Gaming casts the fear, flashes the fear. Spirit Breaker tanking the tower, says he wants this himself, throws the spear and gets that rend onto Illusory. And everybody here is looking so strong. Salmon Pony steals that Mundo and says, I'll tank tower while I take it all down. We see bounties coming in. Surprisingly, the only one without a bounty is Salmon Pony, but I wouldn't be surprised if it pops up here in a couple seconds as they get out of combat. We see another engage. Calavir gets dropped, doesn't have the ult to disengage, wasn't able to flash. BMAD gets a huge ult to zone people away. Crunky taking tower, now it's going to Salmon Pony, but he steals the Nico ult, uses it for the shield, and all of Cloud9 has died in the last 30 seconds. But Candy Bar picks up the kill onto Salmon Pony. Illusory Gaming looking to go in, uses Solar Flare, but doesn't quite net him anything. Flash hook, max reach, dredge line coming in from Gramp with just enough mana to pull it out. Illusory Gaming running under his Nexus towers. Everybody's so low on the side of Keeper Summoners, but there's just no damage alive for Cloud9. Maybe if Calavir gets up here, Illusory Gaming could run him down, but he's got the Moby boots and he's taking an entire Baron wave. I think Keeper Summoners just pulled huge heights and just got out of their queens.
Absolutely. It almost feels like to me that the way the tempo in this game is going, it's almost like someone said to Keep Your Summoners, well, you guys can't win faster than 20 minutes. And they were like, yeah, well, we'll hold my beer. I mean, you know what I mean?
This.
The 20-minute Baron, they're absolutely out macroing Cloud9 in every respect. I mean, this game is looking pretty doomed. If I'm Cloud9, I'm thinking maybe we just have to force a fight. Maybe we have to force some kind of pick. We need to. You now know that Cloud.
So Nocturne going in 1v2. Oh, the Solar Flare misses. The stun got spell shielded. Illusory Gaming trying to win this. Not sure why. The armor comes through. The W pushed through. Calavir says, "All right, I'm gonna try to clean it up," but he didn't realize that Gramp was right around that wall and CC's locked him down. I don't see how Cloud9 survives this. They have a Nico without a mythic item and a dead Mundo now. So can the 0-7 Morello's Nico survive against this? And I think the answer is no, unless Salmon Pony just decides to run it down. But no, Gramp just starts taking both tower aggro and takes 2 tower shots every second, completely fine, and we get the end of game here. I don't think this one could have been as exciting as last one. Candy Bar's the only one up, so towers drop. Candy Bar probably died one more time, and Keep Your Summoners pull out the win.
So I think right there at the end when you were like, Salmon Pony's running it down and he's chasing BMAD around the Nexus, in that moment, I had an epiphany, and I realized something, that the teamwork for Keep Your Summoners, as Salmon Pony drops the aggro and Gramp steps up, I feel like the epiphany of like the team cohesion
Right.
was just, it dawned on me. Like even with the sorry, it'll come to me, the substitute,
Yes.
Keep Your Summoners just seem like a more put together team during team fights, ganks. It didn't seem like Cloud9 were on the same level when it came to team cohesion.
Right. If I can make a comparison, you have some moments of brilliance from Cloud9. I'd say they're just like a roller coaster, right? Like sometimes they just win level 1, they get a huge play, they get a huge trade, get a kill, and then they just climbed and climbed and climbed, and then they're like, let's just send it back down. And they overcommit with this Rift Herald and they get killed. They overcommit with a bot dive and they get killed. Whereas Keep Your Summoners, it just seemed like they were just, again, the little engine that could just going up the hill, and that was it. It was just they make a little play, they get a kill, and then next thing you know, there's a play happening topside, and they're just keeping that climb going. And every time, every player, I feel like on Keep Your Summoners just knew their limits, where they would get a play, and then as soon as they reach that maximum, they just back up and say, nope, Cloud9, I'm not giving you a chance to counterplay me. I'm going to let my team take over from here.
Absolutely. Cloud9, like you said, had the moments of brilliance. In that second game, the Tristana, Calavir, kind of beating up on
Right.
Ataras a little bit. I don't think anybody would have expected that in this game. You had um, Spirit Breaker in a lot of cases losing out to Candy Bar. Got punished for having for his support roaming like he didn't in game one. Like you said, there were moments where Cloud9 really did look a lot better than I think people would have given them credit for.
Absolutely.
But then, certain things happen where picking random fights right before Dragon comes up. We're not paying attention to when the Baron timer. Even though the enemy team has a Callista, and if there's a team that can kill Baron at 20 minutes, it's probably one that has a Callista on it. So overall, I feel like the entire series is just summed up to Keep Your Summoners just had a better understanding of what their win conditions were and how they were going to execute to the fullest.
Absolutely. And in game one, we saw that there were like plays being made and plans being executed by Cloud9. They said, okay, we're going to go for this fight bot lane. But it's just a little too telegraphed and a little too late compared to Keep Your Summoners. So that was game two of a best of three. So it is a 2-0 sweep for Keep Your Summoners. And so Keep Your Summoners will be moving on to the finals, and they will play whoever wins next week's match between Garcrush 2 and, I'm going to let you say it, Mikasa Dudes.
Mikasa Dudes.
Mikasa Dudes.
Mikasa Dudes.
So whoever wins that goes to the finals against Keep Your Summoners, and whoever drops that series will play against Cloud9 in the third place match. And honestly, as much as this one felt bad to watch, with just how well Keep Your Summoners played the game, I think this third place match with either of the two teams, Cloud9 has a much better chance to pick up a game, pick up a series in there where those moments of brilliance turn into just like whole games of brilliance where they do get that advantage in the one play. So the next play works because they have that much more gold, and then they can snowball that lead. And there's a little more mistakes coming in from the teams they're playing against. So definitely not out of the running for Cloud9 to pick up a series here, but they are out of first place contention.
Absolutely.
And congratulations, Keep Your Summoners, to moving on to that finals. Well played series, well earned. You deserved it. But unless you have anything else, I think that's it here from the GameTyrant studio.
No, I look forward to the next series being played, and other than that, I've got nothing.
All right. It's been a pleasure, and we'll catch you next time. Next week, same time.
Goodbye.
To hold our heads up high and beat the drum to what we love. Risk the fall, oh, we have felt it all come crashing down from far above. Stars are rising, countless worlds colliding. Only one will take it all. Can we bring to fall the giant?